Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share your daily aspects. Today is Wednesday, March 23, 2022, and the sun is in Aries, as is the asteroid Chiron. So sun in Aries is the beginning of the springtime. It's the beginning of the zodiac year. This is the time when we feel a certain amount of initiative, momentum, drive to move forward, to take action. We see things springing to life around us, all around us, out in the natural world. And sort of our lives spring back to life at this time too. So being the beginning of the zodiac year and being the beginning of the Aries, the sun's transit through Aries, with all of that drive, initiative, and momentum, this might be a good time to check back on those resolutions you may have made around the new year in January. And, if it's something that you fell back on, that you weren't able to achieve, the initiative and drive are with us at this time. So perhaps just make a fresh start on it. And Chiron's presence in Aries while the sun is there really shines a spotlight on our sense of our personal expression, who we feel that we are, and our sense also of belonging out in the world. So how others perceive us, or how we feel that other people perceive us. And Chiron is the healer. It's about finding solutions. It's about mending our wounds. So any wounds or any difficulty that we've had around the idea of our self-expression, the ideas about our sense of belonging in the world. This is really the sun shining its light on our ability to mend those old hurts. And then the moon today is in Sagittarius. It is a waning gibbous moon. So we are in this time of review. Tomorrow is the third quarter moon, so that's when we will begin to actually release the stuff that no longer works for us. And in Sagittarius, the moon, is like our little heart growing wings and flying off for adventure. We seek new experiences to integrate into our understanding so that we can come to those universal truths. And I'm going to go ahead and get right into the aspects, but I want to remind you about the key on the side of the page. Most of the symbols on the page make it into the key. If there's a symbol you want to know more about, you'll find a name and a keyword for it right here. Otherwise, I'm going to discuss all the symbols as I go over the aspects. And I've divided the page into two columns, one for each of our luminaries. The moon is the luminary that sheds light on our inner lives. This is who we are in our personal lives. When we're at home among the people we keep close, it consists primarily of those things we think, feel, know, and intuit. But that may not find expression in the outer life. And the aspects and the transits the moon makes are relatively brief, and they have everything to do, again, with that stuff that happens on the inside, those things we think, feel, know, and intuit. The sun sheds light on our outer lives. And this is the part of us that interacts with the rest of the world and consists especially of who we are in our work, social, and civic spaces. I address the sun and the rest of the planet's aspects on the side because they have more to do with how we show up out in the world. They're also longer than the moon's transits and aspects. And we begin on the moon side of the page today, Central Standard Time, friends, at 12:12 in the afternoon. Nice quiet morning, friends. At 12:12 in the afternoon, the moon makes a sextile with Mars. The moon and Mars in aspect together gives us an inward sense of drive or initiative, which is appropriate because, Aries is ruled by Mars. So, we're feeling that initiative both in our outer lives and in our inner lives. And the sextile aspect is positive, it's cooperative, it generates good outcomes. If we take action on something that has to do with our heart and home at this time, we're likely to see a good outcome. And then later in the day at 6:29 p.m., so practically 6 hours later, you see how far Venus has drifted from Mars at this point, the moon makes a sextile with Venus. Moon and Venus in aspect together make us desirous of attention, affection, and the other resources we enjoy receiving. Sextile, again, is positive, and it indicates that the inner life is cooperating with our receptive nature. We're especially able to attract what we need and desire at this time with positive results. We're also more able to relate, especially with those people that we keep close to us. And then at 6:34 p.m., just a few minutes later, the moon reaches its perigee. Perigee is the point in the moon's orbit around the Earth when it is closest to us. The moon's proximity to us does have an impact on our physical experience and also on our emotional experiences. So don't be surprised if all the feelings are a little more intense at this time. Perigee happens about once a month. In 2 weeks, we'll be back to the apogee, or the moon's farthest point from the Earth. And then this evening at 10:59 p.m., the moon makes a square to Jupiter. Now, moon and Jupiter always seem to go together well. We get that inner sense, that inner feeling of growth and personal expansion. It makes us feel jovial and grand and generous. We can be very good company at this time. The square aspect, however, indicates the potential for a challenge. I would watch out for a tendency to give more than is necessary. There's no need to create a sense of imbalance when we're just trying to be kind. And then on the sun side of the page today, in the ongoing column, Venus square Uranus continues to challenge our sense of receptivity. We feel impulsive and receptive, and that can put us in a position of attracting certain kinds of attention and resources just because we can. You know, sometimes Venus becomes a little bit impatient. It's about what we desire, what we like to receive, what we think we are owed sometimes. And if we don't feel like we're getting back what we're putting in, or we don't feel like we're receiving what we negotiated to receive, then, you know, our minds and hearts can wander a little bit, you know, and we can start thinking about other ways to get that attention, affection, resources that we wanted. But it's important to remember, and this is where Venus sextile Chiron comes in, that we already have strategies for receiving what we like, love, and can't get enough of. We already have made agreements and commitments surrounding how we get what we like, love, and can't get enough of. So we have to remember those commitments and not just stray and wander and go receiving things just because, go attracting things to ourselves and receiving things just because we can. So Venus square Uranus, again, continues to challenge our sense of receptivity. We feel impulsive and receptive. It puts us in a position, again, of attracting the attention and resources just because we can. And then meanwhile, Venus sextile Chiron here comes along and asks us to exercise more discernment than that, and to seek to attract only the attention and resources that have the most long-term benefit, right? So we've probably already figured that out. We've probably already done the math and, again, made the agreements. And so we're going to stick to those agreements, right? Meanwhile, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, or so they say. Venus and Mars are no longer conjunct, but their proximity has them facing similar struggles, you see? So Mars square Uranus challenges our sense of initiative. We feel impulsive and assertive, and this can put us in a position of acting on impulses that aren't fully aligned with our goals. And then in the meantime, Mars sextile Chiron comes along and asks us to exercise some self-control. Mastery of our emotions and our drives helps us not to fritter away our power on unnecessary efforts. So, you know, at this time, we may feel an urge to act on doing something a little bit differently. But again, we've already made all these agreements. We've already discussed and worked on all of our partnership goals and all of our personal goals. So no need to just go out and assert yourself in ways that are not part of the plan. Consider the consequences of your impulses to act, and, you know, go with the actions that are aligned with the goals and the agreements that you already have in place. And then on the sun side of the page today, Mercury makes a conjunct with Neptune in Pisces at 12:44 p.m. So during this conjunct, we have a lot of information coming in, and we may struggle in a couple of ways. On one hand, it can be a challenge just to envision how all the information is pertinent or fits together to create a whole understanding. And on the other hand, the challenge can come from a sense that some of this information is illusory or inaccurate. We're getting the wrong impressions. My suggestion to you, and what I plan to do during this 2-day aspect, is a lot of journaling so that I can take in the flow of inspiration and the ideas, the feelings, and potential new attitudes that come with it, and then have the information to reflect on as we go forward. Going forward, Mercury will ask us to have some thoughts and communication about the transformational energies we're encountering before entering the sign of Aries. So that'll be a good time to have done your reading and your journaling and your reflection. Where our thoughts and plans and communications become, more direct and action-oriented once Mercury makes ingress to Aries. So that's all going to happen Saturday and Sunday. This is Saturday and this is Sunday. And then also coming up tomorrow, we'll have that third quarter moon in Capricorn. It's a good time to get to work, releasing the thoughts, dispositions, attitudes, and stuff that no longer serves a purpose in our lives. And with this release, when we go back to review all the inspired flow that came in with Mercury conjunct Neptune, we will be better able to discernment here, what doesn't belong and what can be used going forward. So it's a good time to be in that mode of release. And I believe that's all I have to say about the aspects today. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your presence here. If you have any thoughts, if anything comes up for you, or if you have any questions, desire clarification as to what's happening on the page today, please leave a note down in the comments section. I love to receive your comments and I respond to them. Also, if you're still here with me, really just 12 minutes in, please like my video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notifications bell. I post every day and I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. Now I'm in the habit of switching to some tarot. We're going to talk about the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, and then we're going to throw a tarot card, hopefully to sort of bind together the energies for today, Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. And the tarot card on the side of the page is a Wands card, and it's Wands because Wands represent fire in the tarot, and the sun is currently transiting the cardinal fire sign, Aries. So we're at the beginning of the Wands, 2 through 10, and then we're also at the beginning of the Aries season. The first 10 days of the sun's transit through Aries is represented by the Two of Wands. Two of Wands is really about making our plans, making discovery, and there's this transmogrification that comes here from, just having a vision or a desire or an idea and transform it into progress, putting ideas and plans in motion so that we can move forward. So that's a lot of communication, but it also takes a lot of inspiration, a lot of fire, a lot of drive to push, especially if you have a big plan, to start pushing it into place. This is the time to be making those fresh starts. This is the time to be moving those plans into a more forward motion sort of vibe. So you can have plans and ideas all the time. I have great plans and ideas all the time, but I don't always put them into motion. Now is the time to really be pushing forward your plans and trying to make something of them. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and mix up the cards that I have here. While I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Aries, and so is Chiron. So not only is our focus on the initiative that we feel when the sun is in Aries, the new beginnings, the fresh starts we can make, but also Chiron really relates to our personal identity and our sense of belonging in the world. So it's a chance to make a start on mending our relationship with the community, mending our notions of how we are received, how much we care about about what other people think about us, and really just healing our relationship with ourselves in terms of our personal identity. And I like that energy a lot at this time. And then the waning gibbous moon, nearly third quarter, that's in Sagittarius right now, invites us to review what went well and what did not go so well over the last month, so that we have an idea what we would not like to continue forward with, and we can begin to notice what can be released or let go, allowed to fall away from our lives at this time. And in Sagittarius, again, our heart grows wings. We seek adventure. We seek new experiences to integrate into our notion of the world, especially in the heart and the home. Mercury conjunct Neptune, this great big wave, this huge expanded flow. Remember, Mercury, Neptune, and Jupiter are all still hanging out in Pisces. Jupiter expands everything it touches. So that big expanded flow of inspiration and creative vibes that we had during Pisces, still with us, just not quite as so much the focus of our lives. But Mercury in conjunct with Neptune, this amplifies both our thoughts, plans, and communications and our sense of connectedness. And when we're connected, there's a lot of information that comes in. And that's on the emotional level, that's on the spiritual level, that is on the relatedness level, and also with Mercury involved on the intellectual level, what we think, know, what we think, plan, and communicate. So, the amplification there, on the plus side, we're getting a lot of information. On the con side, it's more like we can't trust all of the information that's coming in. Not everything that glitters is gold, right? So, we just want to be discerning about the information that's coming in. And then Venus square Uranus and Venus sextile Chiron says we are impulsive and receptive, and we have to consider the outcome of our impulses to receive. Mars square Uranus, Mars sextile Chiron, we're impulsive and assertive. And again, it helps to consider the consequences of our impulses to act. We already did a whole bunch of work with Venus conjunct Mars. Now they're not conjunct anymore, but we definitely know what our partnership goals and what our personal goals are, and what our agreements are on how we behave, how we receive what we desire, and also how we pursue those things we desire. And the moon side of the page, we have some pretty good vibes, like a will to act, an attractiveness and an ability to relate, and also an ability to just be good company and to give of ourselves while the moon is in Perigee. So we might be feeling those impulses a little stronger than usual. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this card. Oh my goodness, the Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords is, well, first of all, swords are about thoughts, plans, and communication, right? That's a very Mercury vibe, swords. It's just about the words. It's about the intellect that we use. So, when you see this picture of this person sort of laying here dead with 10 swords in their back, it's really more about plans that went against them, either on the part of other people or on the part of themselves. And, when you get enough people thinking, saying, making plans that exclude you, or that are intended to bring you down, you might get that sort of dead feeling where you're just laying on the ground, you don't know what else to do. Ten of Swords is the end of a cycle. And yesterday, remember, we had Nine of Wands, and I said this is the end of a cycle. It's almost the end of a cycle, because we want to appreciate what we have done, and then we want to let it go before it becomes a burden. Well, this is the point where our thoughts, plans, and communications have become a burden. And first of all, that relates for me to the Mercury conjunct Neptune, because again, not all of the ideas, not all of the intuitions, not all of the inspirations that come in from Neptune during that conjunct with Mercury are going to be factual, true, or helpful. Okay, we can have this illusion like all this information is coming in, and therefore and it's coming from spirit, or it's coming from my sense of connectedness to myself, or my sense of connectedness to humanity. It's coming through this sort of psychic channel, so it all must be true. It doesn't necessarily all have to be true, okay? Not all of the information, not all of the inspiration, not all of the ideas we get are good ideas. Okay? Not all the thoughts that we have are good thoughts that we should act on, okay? So you know, this is a point where the thoughts, plans, and communications have sort of gone awry. We made too many thoughts, plans, and communications. We believed too much of our own words and ideas, or we believed too much of what other people were saying and planning to do. Or, you know, we just planned against ourselves, you know, perhaps even unwittingly, because we thought all this information that was coming in was good, right? So end of a cycle, if you get to a point where you feel overwhelmed by all of the thoughts and by all the inspired flow, it's okay to take a little break and pull some of those swords out of your back and examine which ones are true and which are not. But understand that, you know, we're trying to make a fresh start at this time. Okay, so this is also, you know, that third quarter moon energy that says, you know, we've made a review of how things went for us. How did it go? Maybe not so good, right? We've made a review of how things went for us, and we're trying to make a fresh plan going forward, something that's inspired and that, you know, incorporates our drive to transform our ideas into action. You know, and now it's the end of that cycle, the end of the review, and it's time to let go. It's time to release. It's time to start over again. Okay, so you know, this is the point where we release by perhaps again, you know, trying to pull those swords out of our backs, or just sort of letting go of the life of the thing that brought you to this point, okay? The thoughts, plans, and communications that brought you to this point of feeling somewhat dead or just overwhelmed by ideas, right? Not all of which are good. So you know, it's good to come to the end of that cycle so that you can just, you know, take a rest, reflect, and then begin to throw away all those old thoughts, plans, and communications, all those ideas that came in that no longer serve, that are not going to work for us going forward. And I believe that's all I have to say about that at this time, so I'm going to leave it here. I appreciate you all so much for being here. Thank you for showing up every day to get your daily aspects. My name is Mel Rose, and I will see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today.